A freshwater lake in the middle of July is the one piece of the American wild you truly believe you control. You back the truck up to the shore, you carry a cooler into the shallows, you let the kids splash in the reeds, and you stand waist-deep in the murky green water with a drink in your hand, feeling the soft silt between your toes. It is the safest ground you know. The water is warm, the sun is out, and almost nothing living beneath that surface has ever agreed to the arrangement you have in your head. Most lists of dangerous animals send you somewhere far away, to the deep ocean or the high desert or an impenetrable jungle. This one does not move an inch from the places you already spend your weekends. Today, we are ranking 10 animals hiding in the rivers, lakes, and streams of the United States. And we are ranking them by two things at once. First, by how likely they already are to be in the water within 100 feet of you. And second, by how completely you would fail to notice them, weighted by what they can actually do to a human body, based on real data logged by the CDC, the USGS, and state wildlife departments. And here is the shape of it. We will start with the ancient things waiting quietly in the mud beneath your feet. We will move through the predators that have adapted to live right beside our docks and dams. And we will end with something you cannot see from your own back door. Something that you do not even realize you have encountered until it is far too late. By the time we reach number 1, you may understand why the quietest thing in the water is the one people most desperately refuse to believe is real. The one you might carry home on your own body without ever feeling a thing. Before we start, if you have got a favorite local lake, a creek behind your house, or a river you float on during the summer, go ahead and subscribe. It takes 2 seconds and it helps the channel. And tell me one thing. Where in the country are you watching from, and what is the strangest thing you have ever brushed against while swimming in the dark? Drop it in the comments. I read them all. Now the countdown. Number 10. The alligator snapping turtle. You would not think of a turtle as an ambush predator that commands absolute respect, but that is because you are picturing the small, painted turtles sunning themselves on a log. You are not picturing a prehistoric reptile that can weigh over 150 pounds, with a spiked shell that looks like a piece of decaying wood and a bite force capable of severing human bone. Found throughout the river systems and deep lakes of the southeast, from Florida up into the Mississippi Valley, this is an animal that does not hunt by chasing, it hunts by wading. It settles into the deep, soft mud at the bottom of a river or the murky edge of a lake. It opens its mouth, revealing a small, pink appendage on its tongue that wiggles exactly like a worm, and it simply holds still. It can hold its breath for nearly an hour. The water is entirely opaque with silt and algae. You cannot see 3 inches below the surface. And the danger here is not that the turtle wants to eat you. The danger is that you are walking blindly through a world you cannot see. When you wade into a river to retrieve a dropped fishing lure or step off a muddy bank to cool down, you are placing your bare feet into an environment where camouflage is perfect. If you step on its shell, it will not swim away. It will strike upward, faster than you can register the movement. The jaws of an adult alligator snapping turtle end in a sharp hooked beak designed to shear cleanly through the armor of other turtles and the thick bones of large fish. People assure themselves there is nothing dangerous in the mud. They plunge their hands into the shallows to grab a dropped pair of sunglasses. Number 10 is the reminder that the bottom of the lake does not belong to you, and it is heavily armed. Number 9. The cottonmouth, also known as the water moccasin. If the snapping turtle hides in the deep mud, the cottonmouth hides in the exact place you are trying to climb out of the water. Found across the southeastern United States, hovering in swamps, slow-moving creeks, and the brushy edges of popular recreational lakes, this is North America's only venomous water snake. It is a heavy-bodied pit viper that regularly reaches 4 feet in length, and its reputation for aggression is often misunderstood. But the reality of how it behaves is exactly what makes it so dangerous. Most water snakes, like the completely harmless banded water snake, will panic and flee the moment they hear you splashing toward them. They want nothing to do with you. The cottonmouth is different. It relies on its dark, banded camouflage, which blends perfectly with the decaying leaves and wet cypress roots at the water's edge. When you approach, it does not immediately slide away. It stands its ground. It coils up, tilts its head back, and opens its jaws wide to display the stark, bright white interior of its mouth, the warning that gives it its name. But if you are climbing up a steep, muddy riverbank, pulling yourself up by grabbing handfuls of exposed roots and tall grass, you are not looking for a white mouth. You are just looking for a handhold. That is how the bite happens. The venom of a cottonmouth is highly cytotoxic. It destroys tissue, breaks down blood cells, and causes immediate, excruciating swelling. It is rarely fatal to a healthy adult who gets modern medical care, but it will permanently alter the tissue of your hand or leg. Number 9 goes to the snake that does not run, waiting quietly on the boundary line between the water and the land. Number 8, the flathead catfish. When you think of catfish, you likely imagine the small, whiskered fish you catch on a lazy Sunday afternoon. What most people do not know is that the rivers and reservoirs of the American Midwest and South are hiding giants. The flathead catfish does not scavenge on the bottom for scraps like its smaller cousins. It is a highly aggressive apex predator of the dark water, and they grow to enormous, staggering sizes. An adult flathead can live for more than 20 years and easily surpass 100 pounds. They are a mottled yellow and brown, perfectly matching the dark, lightless environments they prefer. They hide in the deep, scoured-out holes beneath hydroelectric dams, inside submerged cars, and under the massive concrete pylons of highway bridges. They want to be where the water is turbulent, deep, and completely black. The danger of the flathead is tied closely to the psychology of how we interact with them. In the South and Midwest, there is a tradition called noodling. People dive into the murky water, find a submerged log or a hole in the riverbank, and shove their bare hands inside, hoping a massive catfish will bite down so they can wrestle it to the surface. It is a test of nerve. But when you reach into a dark hole in a muddy river, you are putting your arm into the mouth of an animal that weighs as much as a large dog covered in sandpaper-like teeth, in a place where leverage belongs entirely to the fish. Drownings happen. People become wedged in the underwater debris, or simply underestimate the sheer, violent muscle of a 100-pound fish thrashing in the dark. Number 8 is the monster we pretend is just a fish, living quietly in the deep holes we refuse to look into. Number 7, the North American beaver. This is the point where the list shifts. You look at a beaver and you see a cartoon. You see a harmless, industrious symbol of the wilderness, gnawing on twigs to build a dam. What you are actually looking at is a 60-pound, highly territorial aquatic mammal armed with a set of self-sharpening, iron-reinforced incisors that can effortlessly drop a mature oak tree. Beavers are fiercely protective of their lodges and their young. When you swim in a quiet, secluded cove of a lake, you might think you are just enjoying nature. But if you drift too close to a beaver lodge, you are not a guest. You are a threat. Beavers do not have venom, and they do not view you as prey. But when they defend their territory, they attack with terrifying efficiency. They will dive beneath the water, completely unseen, and strike from below. There are documented cases, both in North America and abroad, of beavers attacking swimmers and aggressively going after domestic dogs that jump into the water to retrieve a stick. The danger lies in their anatomy. Those massive teeth are designed to sever wood. When they bite a human leg, they bite deep. In a widely publicized incident, a man's femoral artery was severed by a single beaver bite, and he bled to death before he could even be pulled from the woods. You would never look at a quiet pond and feel a sense of dread about a beaver. You have been taught to view them as cute. Number 7 is the reminder that the wilderness does not care about your cartoons. We are at the halfway point, and if you are still with me, you are clearly someone who actually wants to know what is out there. You are not interested in the sanitized, postcard version of the American outdoors. You want the truth about the water you swim in. So this is the perfect moment to subscribe, because the animals from here up are the ones people flat out refuse to believe are real. The ones that break all the rules of where they are supposed to be. Let's get back to the list. Number 6, the bull shark. Now the animals begin to genuinely surprise people. A shark belongs in the ocean. It belongs in the salt water, rolling in the surf, far away from the muddy, winding rivers of the American heartland. But the bull shark does not care about the rules of biology that govern other sharks. It possesses a unique, highly specialized mechanism in its kidneys and a gland near its tail that allows it to retain salt and process fresh water. It is euryhaline. It can survive, hunt, and thrive in completely fresh water. And they do. Bull sharks have been caught in the Mississippi River as far north as Alton, Illinois, hundreds of miles inland. They are regularly found in the brackish estuaries of Texas, the coastal rivers of Louisiana, and the deep, dark residential canals of Florida. They are heavy, stocky, extremely aggressive predators that hunt perfectly in zero-visibility water. They rely on their lateral lines to feel the electrical impulses and vibrations of struggling prey in the dark. The denial here is profound. If you are swimming in a muddy river in Louisiana or water skiing on a brackish lake in Texas, you are not scanning the surface for a dorsal fin. You have categorized the water as safe from marine predators. But the bull shark is there. It is the geographic paradox, a Western legend living quietly in eastern woods, or in this case, an oceanic nightmare swimming past riverboats. When attacks happen in brackish water, people are utterly bewildered. They shouldn't be. Number 6 is the predator that followed you home from the sea. Number 5, the American alligator. If the bull shark is the predator that surprises you, the alligator is the apex predator that an entire region of the country simply decided to ignore. There are an estimated 1.3 million alligators in the state of Florida alone. Hundreds of thousands more spread across Louisiana, Texas, Georgia, and the Carolinas. They are not confined to the deep, untamed swamps of the Everglades. They are in the retention ponds behind your office building. They are in the water hazard on the 7th hole of the golf course. They are resting in the culvert at the end of your suburban street. An adult male American alligator can grow to over 12 feet in length and weigh 1,000 pounds. They are a perfected evolutionary killing machine, remaining largely unchanged for millions of years. And the way they hunt is terrifyingly silent. They do not thrash. They do not roar before they strike. They slip beneath the surface without making a single ripple, holding their breath, waiting for a dog, a bird, or a person to step just an inch too close to the water's edge. What makes the alligator so incredibly dangerous is not just its biology, but the sheer, staggering scale of our denial. Floridians and Southerners live surrounded by them. People walk their golden retrievers 10 feet from the edge of dark ponds at twilight. They let their kids retrieve lost soccer balls from the reeds. We have drawn an invisible, imaginary line at the edge of the manicured grass, and we pretend the dinosaur in the water respects that line. It does not. The alligator trusts that you will not notice it until you are already within striking distance. Number 5 is the masterclass in human denial. She has been in these waters the whole time. You just never had a reason to look down. Number 4, the giant water bug. And now we shift from the massive to the miniature, because dangerous does not always mean large, and the thing that hurts you the most is rarely the thing you see coming. Also known as the toe biter, the giant water bug is a massive insect, often exceeding 4 inches in length, found in slow-moving streams, ponds, and the shallow, reedy edges of lakes all across North America. It looks like a dead leaf. It hangs upside down in the aquatic vegetation, completely motionless, grasping a reed with its back legs, while its raptorial front legs wait open, like a trap. It hunts fish, tadpoles, and small frogs. But when you wade into the shallows, pushing through the weeds in your bare feet, the giant water bug does not distinguish between a passing fish and your toe. When it strikes, it does not just bite. It drives a sharp, needle-like rostrum deep into your flesh and injects a powerful, highly toxic cocktail of digestive enzymes. These enzymes are designed to literally liquefy the insides of its prey, so the bug can drink it like a soup. In a human, the bite does not cause death, but it causes pain. A searing, radiating, white-hot agony that is routinely described by entomologists as one of the single most painful insect bites on the planet. The pain can last for hours, accompanied by swelling and localized muscle paralysis. You fear the deep water because you cannot see the bottom. Number 4 is the reminder that the shallows are already claimed. Number Giant 3, the alligator gar. We return to the deep rivers of the South, particularly Texas and Louisiana, for an animal that genuinely looks like a mistake of nature. The alligator gar is one of the largest freshwater fish in North America, capable of reaching 8 feet in length and weighing up to 300 pounds. It has the heavy, torpedo-shaped body of a fish, armored in diamond-shaped, enamel-like ganoid scales that are so tough they can spark when struck with an axe. But its head looks like it was grafted on from a crocodile, featuring a long, broad snout lined with double rows of dagger-like teeth. For decades, the alligator gar was demonized. They were slaughtered by the thousands because people believed they were eating game fish, and because they simply looked too terrifying to let live. Today, they are making a comeback. But swimming in the murky Trinity River or a Louisiana bayou with a 300-pound armored torpedo is an exercise in vulnerability. The gar is relatively docile toward humans. There are no confirmed records of an alligator gar actively hunting and eating a person, but that is not where the danger lies. The danger is the environment. In water with zero visibility, when a massive, heavily armored fish is spooked by a swimmer or a boater, it thrashes wildly. If an 8-foot gar collides with you in the dark or accidentally grazes your leg with that row of exposed, razor-sharp teeth, it will lay you open to the bone. You do not have to be prey to be a casualty of the river. Number 3 is the prehistoric ghost brought back from the edge, thriving right where you least expect it. And that leaves just 2. Number 2 is an animal that changed the lakes of this country forever with a single mistake made nearly a century ago. And number 1. Number 1 is the thing I warned you about at the very start, the one you might have already carried home. Number 2. The sea lamprey. This is the story of a wall that fell and the nightmare that swam through it. For thousands of years, the Great Lakes were protected from the predators of the Atlantic Ocean by the sheer, insurmountable drop of Niagara Falls. But in the early 20th century, we built shipping canals, we carved a path around the falls, and the sea lamprey followed the ships right into the heart of the American freshwater system. A sea lamprey is an ancient eel-like parasite. It does not have jaws. Instead, its mouth is a perfect, terrifying circular suction cup, lined with concentric rows of sharp, curved golden teeth and a razor-sharp rasping tongue. In the ocean, it attaches to massive fish, using suction and teeth to latch onto the flesh, scraping away scales and tissue to feed on the blood and bodily fluids of its host. When they entered the Great Lakes, they found an ecosystem completely unprepared for them. They decimated the native lake trout. But humans swim in the Great Lakes too. And while a sea lamprey does not actively hunt humans as its primary food source, to a blind parasite navigating the dark water, a bare human leg feels an awful lot like a slow-moving host. Swimmers in the Great Lakes and connected river systems have emerged from the murky water to find a 3-foot-long muscular eel firmly suctioned to their thigh or back. They are incredibly difficult to pull off. They do not transmit venom, and they will not kill you, but the psychological horror of fighting a parasitic vampire off your own body in the deep water is something you never forget. Number 2 didn't just survive these waters, it rewrote them, and we are still swimming inside the version it left behind. And so, we arrive at number 1. Number 1 is not an apex predator. It does not have rows of teeth. It does not have venom. It is completely invisible to the naked eye, and yet it is the absolute embodiment of the danger you refuse to see. It is the one thing on this list that you do not leave behind in the water. You take it with you. Number 1 is Naegleria fowleri, the brain-eating amoeba. Every summer, when the heat peaks in July and August, the water levels in lakes, rivers, and warm freshwater springs begin to drop. The water grows stagnant. It warms up, sometimes reaching 80 degrees or more. This is exactly when people flock to the water to cool off. They dive off docks. They jump from rope swings. They do cannonballs into the murky green depths. When you hit the water, the force forces a rush of warm lake water up into your nasal cavity. You come to the surface, blow the water out of your nose, wipe your eyes, and think nothing of it. You dry off, pack up the truck, and drive home. You do not know that Naegleria fowleri was suspended in that water. You do not know that it has just attached itself to the olfactory nerve inside your nose. Over the next few days, while you are sitting in your air-conditioned living room, the amoeba travels up the nerve pathway directly into your brain. There, it begins to consume your brain tissue. The early symptoms are indistinguishable from a mild summer cold or a headache, a slight fever, a stiff neck. By the time the hallucinations and seizures begin, it is almost universally too late. The infection, known as primary amoebic meningoencephalitis, has a fatality rate of over 97%. You cannot shoot it. You cannot fence it out. You cannot scare it away by making noise. It trusts that you will just keep treating the wild, living water as if it were a sterile municipal swimming pool. Number 1 goes to the microscopic killer that proves the water was never yours to begin with. So here is what this list is really about. A freshwater lake in the middle of July still looks like the safest place in the world. The water is warm, the sun is out. You wade in up to your knees and the mud feels soft against your skin. But that softness is just a different kind of camouflage. The snapping turtle buried in the silt. The alligator watching quietly from the reeds. The shark riding the dark current 100 miles from the ocean. The invisible thing suspended in the warmth, waiting for you to dive. These rivers and lakes were never really tame. They just let you believe they were. They are ancient, complex ecosystems that operate on rules that were written long before we decided to build boat ramps and docks. The danger is not that the wild is malicious. The danger is that we decided to stop looking at it. The wild never left. It just learned to hold its breath. If this changed the way you will walk down to the water next summer, subscribe to the channel and stay for the next one. And the next time it feels a little too quiet out there, staring out over the glassy surface of a dark lake, remember why. You were never alone out here. You just thought you were.